joining the Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Lunch and Learn with Pennsylvania Parks and Forests for Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm Maria Montero, a board member with Pennsylvania Parks and Forests, and this short but energetic and vibrant session is going to be about 30 minutes. So stick with us, and I'd love to introduce you to our ambassador at Pennsylvania Parks and Forests, Margarita Caicedo. She has been with Pennsylvania Parks and Forests this summer, and I would love for her to introduce herself. Hi, Margarita.
Hello, Maria. Hi, George. Um,
Hola.
I am the ambassador of Pennsylvania Parks and Forests, and I've been so happy. Um, I had been visiting different parks and learning. It has been a non-stop learning experience.
Thank you, Margarita, so
You're
much. We
welcome.
appreciate that. And our next panelist and guest for today is George Fernandez. He's one of my best friends, and he has joined Pennsylvania Parks and Forests for several years now. He is the president and CEO of Latino Connection. He's also a worldwide traveler, and I call him a Delta snob. George, tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection to Pennsylvania Parks and Forests.
Thank you, Maria. It's un placer estar aquí con ustedes hoy. It's a pleasure to join you today in honor of celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month with our friends at Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation. I am so humbled and thrilled to be a part of your entity and the organization and the leaders that surround our table as Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation, just to see all the amazing work that we are accomplishing with our friends groups and all of our corporate partners to keep our Pennsylvania's, neighbors, friends, and family healthy, active, and engaged. I am proud to be Latino. I am proud to be gay. I am proud to be married. I am proud to live in Pennsylvania, and I'm just ultimately proud of being a part of the family with Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation. Thank you so much, Margarita, for the invitation. Thank you so much for hosting this, and I'm really thrilled and excited to talk a little bit more about Hispanic Heritage Month, as well as PA Parks and Forests Foundation, and why and how people can use our parks and forests as a way of health and wellness and so much more.
Thank you, George. And if anyone on our tech end on Pennsylvania Parks and Forests can get a picture of George outdoors, feel free to put that up whenever you like, because George is an avid outdoors person. And I know that he has a poochie he likes to take out along with his husband. Oh, yes. There's Poochie. What's your dog's name, George?
His name is Dustin.
Hi. So cute. Thank
Yes,
you.
indeed. It's so cute. How old is he?
Dustin is 2.5.
Aw, he's so sweet.
Oh,
Does he like to go on hikes, George?
Not very often.
Well, a little bit is better than none.
A little bit is better than none. Amen to that.
And thank you so much, everyone, in celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with us. I am Maria Montero. I'm a former chairwoman of Pennsylvania Parks and Forests Foundation, and I was blessed to be able to spend a lot of times in the parks and forests growing up. I was born in the Allentown area, but my parents were divorced when I was young, and I split time between the Poconos and Allentown. So I was blessed to have the best of both worlds, to be in the outdoors, to have mountains as my playground. That's a view of some of the hikes I do. It's just absolutely breathtaking. And I am going to kick this off and talking about what are some of the benefits that, what do we feel when we derive when we're being outdoors? And if Pam, you can bring that picture up of me overlooking the Lehigh Water Gap, I'd appreciate it. So, being outdoors for me really offers an opportunity for me to reconnect. I work in Philadelphia, and the hustle and bustle of the city and the stresses of work are real. And if anyone has heard of forest bathing before, which is an opportunity just to let go and let nature really become one with you, it helps me reset my mind frame. I'm also religious. It's a great opportunity just to reconnect with God and be thankful for the amazing resource and assets that we have here in Pennsylvania Parks and Forests. And one of the parts of being the chairwoman of Pennsylvania Parks and Forests is I really wanted to make sure that everyone in our community felt welcome at our parks and forests, and accessibility was a key of that. And with great friends like Margarita and George, we were able to make sure that individuals who are Spanish speakers that come to our parks and forests understand the give and take and the relationship of taking care of our natural resources, which means having information available in Spanish, having Margarita as someone who could be an advocate and connecting with our Spanish speakers in our parks. And to me, it is the biggest blessing to have such an amazing parks and forest system that is free, not like in other states where you have to pay access to public lands. Pennsylvania Parks and Forests is very unique. And, Margarita, I'm going to ask you, like, what are some of the benefits that you feel and derive from being outdoors? And what's that, Margarita? What are you up to in that picture?
Oh, that's the unveiling of the new signs in our parks that is welcoming everybody. And that's Secretary Dunn and with Brent, which is park manager of Noldy, my favorite park.
It's
And
beautiful.
the other person is a professor of Albright College. He used to take his students to Noldy and has fantastic experiences there. Going back to your question, Maria, what I derive from being outdoors, I have to tell you that being outdoors made me healthier and happier. Um, when you get to up in years, it is fantastic. And not everybody needs to be religious, but I'm more a spiritual person, and being in the nature is something magical. You have to believe. Um, Obviously, being outdoors improve mood. Um, it's just an experience. It's a fantastic. I was going to say religious, but it's something that you have to go out and be there to experience that. Um,
I agree. It is
be-
awe-inspiring. And, we read about how important it is for our mental health to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And George, I'd like to ask you, like, from an awe-inspiring perspective, what are some of the benefits that you feel and, your family feels when you're out and about in our parks and forests?
Well, the fact that there are so many parks in Pennsylvania, there are over 120 plus parks in Pennsylvania, and they're so close to get to. But a place that you can just, take friends and neighbors and family. I mean, we constantly are hosting people that are visiting from Dominican Republic, and we can't go to Hershey's Chocolate World every single day, right? And Latinos tend to overstay. They like to visit for like 2 and 3 and 4 weeks. So,
you
so
can
You
you,
don't
you
say
gotta
say.
that
find
here.
you gotta find other stuff to do. And it's just really fun and engaging that you can just get in the car and within 30 minutes, you are sitting at a state park that just has so much history and walking around and, learning about birds and learning about plants and so much more. But furthermore, it's just free and it's easy and it's fun and it's accessible and it's not very many states across the country have access to parks that quickly, that are clean, that have activities, that have other things going on that day. And furthermore, through our partnership with Latino Connection and PPFF over the past few years, we've been able to increase the language line access of some of the state parks and signage and things like that. I recently, well, I shouldn't say recently, but sometime last year, I participated in these really cool educational videos that PPFF and myself were able to put on. There's a YouTube link for one of them where we were just reminding people of the rules of the park. And most of the rules of the park are only available in English. So if you don't know the rules, how can you successfully follow them, right? Let's go right back to kindergarten, how all the rules were posted up on the board. And I had a lot of fun engaging with Marcy and the team around doing these YouTube videos, reminding people that they can bring their dogs to the park, just clean up after yourself. You can bring food to the park. You can enjoy a nice picnic with family and friends, but just remember to clean up after yourself. And furthermore, not just clean up after yourself, but also take care of these resources that are being given to us at no cost, right? So if we can take care of them, they'll be there for many more years to come.
It is true. We are stewards of our beautiful Penn's Forest, and that's actually a group that we have also. George, I'm going to stick with you because you spoke about bringing individuals that are new to Pennsylvania parks and forests with your family. And was there any initial hesitancy from, you or your family when you first went into the parks and forests? Because it could be a little intimidating.
Yeah, I get teary-eyed with this question with a lot of what I do, Maria, because a lot of the Hispanic communities are unaware of the resources that are available to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a product of a single mother of 3 who was a victim of domestic violence, and I had to become the adult in the household at a very young age, at the age of 10. And my mom and I lived in low-income housing, but we had to pay the full market rate rent because we didn't have a social security number, so we didn't qualify for social assistance. And as I started to grow up, as in my teenage years, late teenage years, is where I found out that Pincho Park was a free park. And I started to ask permission from mom to go there and spend time with friends and friends from school and so forth. And if you don't know, you can't take advantage of that resource, right? And I think it's extremely imperative that folks like myself and even you, Maria and Margarita, that we share the ability of these parks that are out there with our local friends, neighbors, and families, and especially those newcomers that are moving into our area. After Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, Pennsylvania was the number 2 state in the country to receive displaced families after Florida. Over 20,000 new Latino American children were registered as per the Department of Education into our schools in Pennsylvania. That's over 20,000 new families that moved to Pennsylvania. So to connect them to these resources and to share that information is extremely important. Last year, Maria, Latino Connection partnered with the Pennsylvania Department of Health to launch a COVID-19 mobile response unit that started traveling across the entire Commonwealth to do COVID-19 testing and now COVID-19 vaccinations. So we partnered with PPFF to share the local parks in the same regions that we were visiting with our mobile unit. So we provided literature and inside the educational bags and the resource bags. Inside those bags, we had masks and hand sanitizers and sort of like a small PPE COVID kit. But inside those bags, we had information in both English and Spanish around PPFF and the closest state parks, whether we were in Scranton or whether we were in Allentown or whether we were in Pittsburgh or Erie or even Philadelphia. And reminding people of our green areas and how to wash their hands and to take their trash with them. It was just amazing to hand out this type of literature and to connect people to those resources. And I remember I didn't work every single event, but I remember some of the few events that I was at, people would start reading this information about the local parks and they'd be like, oh, I had no idea there was a park that close to us that's free. So it just feels very rewarding and very fulfilling to connect people to those resources. Coming from Latin America, coming from Dominican Republic, coming from the Caribbean, the use of local state parks, you actually have to pay an annual membership for. So it's not free to use our local parks and forests back home in the Dominican Republic. Very many people have to pay an annual membership to. And while it's affordable to pay that membership, sometimes it's not accessible to other people. I remember at least where I live now and where my mom lives now in Dominican Republic, to get to the park is about an hour drive. So there's not that very many places to walk and, that are accessible, that are free, that are fun to enjoy. And it's just really fulfilling, to be a part of PPFF, but furthermore, to have access to so many parks across the Commonwealth of PA.
So true. Thank you, George. Margarita, with your experience of being outdoors, and especially now that you are helping and serving Pennsylvania Parks and Forests with so many newcomers to our parks and forests, What is some advice have you been giving our newcomers? Because maybe our audience, if they see individuals that are newcomers to our parks and forests, like what is some supportive advice in kind and supportive ways can we help our newcomers?
Well, Maria, before I start with the advice, I have to tell you some story because different from you guys that you grew up here, you know about the parks. I didn't. I came as an adult from Colombia, and although Noldia is my favorite park, it passed years and years and years, and I always in the car I passed and I saw the signs, not the educational center. In my mind it was like there are only can the people who enter there is only people who's going to study the environment or something like that. But I was curious because I saw that forest and I was saying, oh, that it has to be so beautiful being in that forest. I didn't know. And of course it was hesitancy because first of all, I don't want to go on private property. So there was a lot. And like I said, it went years and years go by that I didn't know that I was that
What
Dolby was.
inspired you? What inspired
Yes,
you to go? Like, how did you figure it out?
a friend, bad. With my friend, she was so happy because she found a trail for us to go to walk. So we go to Nodi Park and Sawmill parking lot and
Yes.
go one trail. There was a loop.
Mhm.
There is a loop, and
Yes.
I have to tell you that we did that trail for years. One
So
single
beautiful.
trail. And Noldi has like at least 20 trails, but there was a sign that says private property,
Yeah, there is.
and I was convinced that that was the only place that we can go to. And like I said, years pass, and what is private property was the forester house, but
Oh,
the
I didn't.
rest is obviously is open for the public, and like George was saying, is free. And finding that out, now I take my friend and I show her all the different trails. But in based on my experience, that's why I'm, and you guys know that we Latinos are very passionate. And like I said, based on my experience, I want to let everybody know that you can go. It's for you. It's free. It's you don't have to get a membership, or it's open 24/7. So that's why I love what I'm doing. And my advice is George did it very well. Like, okay, this is here for us, but we have to take care of it.
Love it.
um, Pick after yourself, or please don't litter, things like that. But it's fun to invite people to let them know. And like you say, George, especially when people came here, we don't know, we came from another countries, which they are very different. I had been talking to people, and of course, there is hesitancy because on some countries, going into a forest is not as safe as is here. You
Correct.
know, there are problems there. There are guerrillas. There are
Poisonous
no good
animals.
individuals there.
Yeah.
But here, that's another blessing that we have with our parks and forests. They are very safe. They are very welcoming. So basically, that's my advice. Come in, be curious, go in.
So you have been working with a lot of newcomers to our parks and forests. What
Yes.
types of questions have you been able to answer for these newcomers, and what advice have you been giving them, Margarita?
But the questions, they are basically the same. How much they cost? How can we go there? Can we go every? There is a special hours, which of course there are hours for the parks, but mm, I'm going to give you an example, Maria. Not long ago, last Sunday at Marsh Creek, there was an event, and a group of the Latino community from Kennett Square, they were invited because Stroud was there. They work with fresh water, and um, these people were excited to know that on Marsh Creek there are trails for horseback riding. They are from South America. So, can you imagine? They were super happy to know that. And until not long ago, I didn't know that I can go and rent a horse and try to learn how to ride. But there are trails for that. Although they live in Kennett Square, they were fascinated at March Creek. There were a lot of activities for them. Um, that is one of the researchers, which is another Latina, and not only they were having fun, they were learning. Most of them, they didn't know that there were canoes and water sports that they can go to the parks and do it.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Margarita. George, I'd like to ask. So I remember how you were talking about your mama, and you were saying that you first, asked her if you could, step out and go into the forest.
The answer was no. Claro que no. Of course not. If you want to invite the entire high school over to the house, I'll make empanadas and rice and beans. Of course not. You're not going anywhere. You get on the bus, you get your butt on the bus right after school, and you come home.
Yeah. Right.
No, so I'll let you finish your question. Go ahead.
No, so you must have been persuasive with mama. You must have been at some point. And so because let's just say there's also families, and because I'm such a protective Latina mom, as we all are. Like, what helped your mom understand that this was going to be a safe, okay place for you to go forward and explore outdoors? And what kind of advice would you say, maybe of other Latinos that aren't so comfortable with the outdoors? What gave you that oomph of, I guess, it's brave. You're taking a new
what got
step.
me my first permission slip was a school trip. That's actually what got me my first. That's actually what got me my first opportunity to meet Pincho Park. Was a school trip that we had with a school play that I was in. I was in a school play. It was MASH. Remember MASH? And I was Mr. Lopez in the school play, and they were remodeling the auditorium at school, so we needed a place to practice. So it was a school for the school play, and mom had to come pick me up from the school play. That was another problem. It was like, oh my God, I got to drive that far to pick you up. Where is this? Is this even safe? And when mom got there, she actually enjoyed it herself. And that's how it opened the doors for her to allow my brother and I, and then she wanted to go, and then she started to invite friends. So we tend to frequent Pincho Park more often now. But my recommendation
is that your favorite park? Is that your favorite park, Pincho?
That's my favorite park. Yeah, that's my favorite park. But for me, it holds a very sentimental place, right? Because it was a place where my mom and I were able to kind of disconnect from all of her challenges and all of her problems and all of the things that she was going through at that time, as a breast cancer survivor, as a victim of domestic violence. It was just a place to disconnect and just be able to talk and relax. And it was kind of breaking out of the norm of just walking around in your own neighborhood. Again, we lived in low income housing, so just to be able to connect with nature and be able to just enjoy time with family. It was just it was beautiful. It really was.
Oh,
So
thank you for sharing.
we're thrilled that again it's so close to us. It's completely free, easy to park. Some signage is now available in Spanish, thanks to PPFF, and so forth. But I think the other thing is connecting people to know that the resource is there. And I'm happy that Latino Connection has been able to be a small seed in PPFF's outreach to the growing Latino American community that we have here in Pennsylvania. It's a community that's going to keep growing, and these types of initiatives and programs need to happen more often.
And George, speaking of a small seed, it actually reminds me of the story behind Nold Forest, how the Nold family came upon this property that was totally barren. It wasn't a productive farmland, and that there was one white pine tree that was in the area, which now has hundreds of thousands of varied forest life. And Margarita, is Nold your favorite forest
Yes, it
park?
is.
Okay, that's
Yes,
beautiful.
it is. And as same as George said, is because it uh, got a very sentimental uh, part of me there, because I remember when I was young, uh, trying to find out what it was behind those things. And uh, but what you say is very important, especially for me as a Latina, because the Noldi family were immigrants. Uh, and this person had this vision when found this only one tree, and we are so blessed that he had this vision. And the Noldi represent also, because now when you go, you can find all this diversity like we are. Not only, yeah, it's not the only one white pine tree, but it's the diversity as the changing population here. And it is also very important with the relationship with Reading. That one of the Noldi, or the Noldi factory, was one of the biggest in the
Mhm.
country, in the whole nation, and it was in Reading.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all
Stunning.
that history attached to Noldi.
George, have you been to Nolde yet?
I have not.
Oh, George, you
George,
have to come.
Let's
it's
do it,
fun.
Margarita.
We
Let's get
can have
together.
those stones with
It is.
wine.
So I,
Yes.
we
And
have to go. We'll
Maria,
have to go all
what is your
together.
favorite park, Maria?
Thanks for asking, Margarita. So my favorite park is Beltsville State Park, and I have a similar story as all of us. I was born here in the United States, and my family didn't have a lot of extra money, didn't have a lot of money. And for us, Beltsville was my summer vacations. We would go on the weekends, and even in the 80s, there would be long lines into getting into Beltsville. And I remember being so excited because that was our beach day. Like, a lot of folks you hear will be going to the Jersey Shore or Maryland. Like, we went to Beltsville. And my mom was born in the United States, and so she taught me that love of the outdoors. And I was a precocious child, and so I was always out and about, and wouldn't even understand that, oh, there were bears or different things that would be in the forest. I would always be hiking and just looking for things, being in creeks, looking everywhere. So I always had this affinity for the outdoors. And even in growing up near Jim Thorpe, I would be on trails to go mountain biking and kayaking. And so from the time I was a child, I was able to have this as my backyard and my oasis. And I couldn't be more thankful because, if there was like a lot of fees or things like that, my family couldn't afford it. And I mean, a lot of the families that are coming from Allentown and Bethlehem, Easton, and from the corridor and Reading on 222, coming to Beltsville is a blessing. And Margarita, you've helped a lot of these families that are coming to Beltsville, and not only Latinos, but I know there's diverse communities that are Indian and Russian. And tell me
Yes.
what those experiences are at Beltsville, because there's been a lot of news in the media about experiences that aren't all positive for the community. And being someone who grew up near Beltsville and being someone who's also Latino, I've always taken care of, my park. And I hope other Latinos could also care and have that love and passion and conservation. As you can see right here, like, I can serve, do you? And how can we spread that message, Margarita?
Well, Batesville is one of other favorite parts. I
Good answer. Good answer.
But let me tell you, and it's what George said at the beginning. If they don't know, they cannot comply with the rules. So it's part of our what we have to do. Tell them what to do. Here are the rules, and I have to make a parenthesis and say that I have been working with a lot of Spanish material. With I know George, you did the translation, and these translations are flawless. Thank you very much. I love that because it's like you're using the universal Spanish, and that's what I love and appreciate the most of your translation, George. And I have been working with a lot of your material, which is easier for them. So in Beltsville, we have been working with the Latino community, and some of them they didn't know where exactly they were supposed to put the trash. They packed the trash.
Mhm.
The only thing that they were forgetting is that they have to take it to the dumpster. So some of them they thought that they were doing what they thought was the correct thing: pack
Mhm.
and put it at the side. But it's a matter of education. Talk to them,
Yeah.
and they will do it.
Thank you, Margarita. Thank you so much.
Maria, I have a question for you. Can you tell us your blanket story? I love your blanket behind you.
Yes.
Thank you, George. And so this is one of the most amazing gifts I've ever won. And everyone who may be listening, Pennsylvania Parks and Forests is a nonprofit, and so we do everything we can to help support our parks and forests, but it does cost an arrow. So we had this beautiful dinner. Usually, like, pre-COVID, we have a dinner, and it will resume. And we have these silent auctions. I was the first year I've ever was part of Pennsylvania Parks and Forests, and I went on an all-out bidding war, George, all-out bidding war with one of the members of our board. And we were going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And finally, I just played the guilt trip on him, George. I was like, listen, I'm a new member, and I really think that I should be able to win this beautiful blanket. And Pam mentioned who may have done it, but it's recycled. So it's T-shirts from all the different parks and forests that are in the Commonwealth and conservancies, and it is the most cherished possession I have, and I keep it because just like it means so much to me. I just love our parks and forests, and I want to do everything we can to make sure that communities feel welcome, but that even to give a big thanks to all of the employees that are in our parks and forests, everything that you do, because during the pandemic, our parks and forests have been quadrupled. Like, millions of people have been going to our parks and forests because though everything was closed indoors, our parks and forests were open. And so we've been speaking and connecting now for over a half hour. So I'd like to leave our audience with one last question I'm going to ask of both of you. And how can we work together to be a steward, to be an advocate for how special our Pennsylvania parks and forests are? And how can we get our Latino community more involved? George, bless us with your wisdom. What do you think?
I think it's just inviting them. I think it's inviting them and, trying to solidify new partnerships that can welcome those folks, and having, perhaps maybe like a Latino fiesta, at a local park, and having a small band, and, just inviting people. I think once you get to the park once, they will forever cherish and trust that park. I think that's the most important opportunity. And, Latino Connection is committed to PPFF. We're committed to Maria. We're committed to Margarita and Marcy. And who says no to Marcy, right? Nobody can. So I think that just helping people get to the park once, Maria, is the most important part that matters, and the rest happens from there.
Okay, so George, I'm writing a mental note. There's going to be a fiesta. We're going to talk about one park where we're going to hold a fiesta in El Parque de Bosques. So,
See,
Parks and
y
Forests, I think we could do that for next year. I'm
desde
going to test
luego.
your ideas.
And
Not
before we go, I wanted to let you know, guys, there was this national movement that is Latino Conservation Week, and Pennsylvania, for some reason, is not. It had be so into it. So we need to get together and work that, because George, that's a fantastic idea. The fiesta in the park. Um, you say fiesta to a Latino, and there is
Yes.
nothing else to explain. So it's so
without alcohol, though. No alcohol.
No alcohol.
well, no, no. But we still have fun without without it, and that will be a great, or it is a great idea, George. And you know that Ian and Marcy, we had been planning for the Latino Conservation Week that happens on July. So now you know, and
That's
everybody knows, and everybody's invited to have the ideas, be a volunteer, be part of the parks and forests, the friends groups.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to ask Pam if she could join in just because I don't have access to see if there's any questions from our audience. If you could just let us know if there's anything.
Hi, everybody.
that-
We have one comment from Jenna who says, "You are all so much fun to watch. Thank you for taking the time to share your passion with us today." And I'll have to second that. Really appreciate your time. It's been great. I'm
Thank
ready for a fiesta.
I think that's the best part. Well, and you can tell that we love each other, and you can tell that we love our parks and forests. And te quiero mucho. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being part of
Thanks,
Hispanic
yeah.
Heritage Month. And I cannot wait to do George's Fiesta for next year. So,
I can't wait either, you guys. Thank you so
Perfect.
much. Thanks,
thank
Pam,
you
for
so
your
much,
time.
everyone.
Mercy,
Have a
say bye.
wonderful
I
day.
shall click the end
Bye.
button, and if you'll all stay here for just a second, that would be great.
Oh, sure.
Bye, everyone.
Ciao.